In the name of Allah, the most compassionate, the most merciful, and may the peace and blessing of Allah be upon His last and beloved Messenger Muhammad, and may the peace and blessing of Allah be upon you all. The title of this video is Knowing the Optimal Design for a Mechanical Digger from the Quran. Now, as an introduction of this video, what is a mechanical digger? It is, as you can see on the screen, it's a device which is composed of mechanical and electrical parts, which is used to destroy the bonds in a certain material like cement or rocks, for example. It's used to break cement, rocks, etc. It uses certain parts to destroy the bonds in a certain material. Now, there are certain kind of problems with these mechanical diggers, which is that firstly, they are heavyweight, they need a lot of power to operate, they produce so much noise, and a lot of times there is a kind of a failure in the head of the digger, the head which is in contact with the object to be broken. There is like a kind of fracturing in that head. Now, what I will show in this episode, by going to the last revelation of Allah God to people of the Quran, Allah God Almighty teaches us how to design the optimal digger from the Quran. And you will see that Allah God Almighty teaches us how to design a mechanical digger that has minimum energy to operate, produces very low noise, lightweight, and there is no kind of danger of breaking of the head of the digger during operation. Now, how can you learn to design a mechanical digger with all of these kind of advantages? The key is to ponder upon the Noble Quran, and if you ponder upon verse number 21 of chapter 51 of the Quran, which states, "And in your own selves will you not then see?" So here Allah Almighty urges us to ponder and reflect upon our body and how Allah created our body. And one of the reasons for this is that your body contains all kinds of mechanical systems, all kinds of engineering systems. For example, it has civil kind of systems in your bones and how they handle weight. It has mechanical systems in your muscles and how they move your body. It has chemical systems in your digestive system in the body. So Allah created the human body. It contains all kind of engineering systems. So if you want to learn the best design for any engineering system, you need only to ponder and reflect upon how Allah God created your body. And if you link this with verse number 4 of chapter 18 in the Quran, where Allah states, Allah God created humans in optimal form. So here Allah is telling us that He created our body in optimal form, meaning in optimal specifications, optimal design. So when you learn any system from the human body, you are learning this system in optimal design, optimal form. So now the question, where can we find a mechanical digger in our body? Now, if you think about the human body as Allah urges us to do in the Quran, we find that the mechanical digger is found in our teeth. Our teeth are the perfect mechanical diggers, such that we see that our teeth, they break the food that we eat, and they break the chemical bonds and the bonds between the atoms in the object that we chew. Now, I will proceed to show that if we ponder upon how Allah created our teeth, we can get the best design ideas for any mechanical digger. And our teeth, they operate with minimum noise and minimum energy. They are lightweight. The head of the outer layer of the teeth, it doesn't break during chewing. So the teeth, they have the optimal specifications for a mechanical digger. So let's start, and we'll concentrate on three main kind of characteristics of the teeth. If we compare the stiffness of the outer layer of the teeth with the stiffness of the object we chew. Now, the average stiffness of the outer layer of the teeth is about 20 gigapascals, which is 20 billion unit of stiffness, 20 billion. Now, if you compare this with the object that has maximum stiffness that we can chew, like nuts, for example, they have an average kind of stiffness of 20 megapascals, like 20 million unit of stiffness. So if we divide the stiffness of our teeth by the stiffness of the object that we chew, the maximum stiffness, it comes to 1,000. So the ratio between the stiffness of our teeth and the stiffness of nuts, for example, is 1,000. So Allah the Almighty gave us so much stiffness in our teeth, such that there is no kind of fracturing of the teeth during chewing. So the engineering application of this, that if we want to design a mechanical digger, we need to strengthen the outer layer of the head of the digger such that it's 1,000 times stiffer than the object we are trying to break. And that, of course, will give us, protect us from failure and fracturing of the head of the digger. So that's the first application we can learn from the Quran and from our body. The second application, if we look at the design of how Allah the Almighty designed the teeth, whether they are the incisors or the canines or the molars, we see that they have a certain common characteristic, which is, as you can see on the screen, the contact region between the teeth and the food. It has a very kind of a small contact area. It has a very small contact area, like a pointy area. This, from a engineering point of view, what this produces, that a reduction in the area increases the stress. So a reduction in the area of the teeth increases the stress applied to the object being chewed, and as thus you need so little energy to break the piece of food you are chewing. So once again, this small contact area between the teeth and the object being chewed produces so much stress, very high stresses on the object being chewed, and thus you need minimum energy to cause breaking in the bonds of the food. So from an engineering point of view, the applications from this is that if we want to build a mechanical digger, we need to make the contact region between the head of the digger and the object we want to break as small as possible, and thus by this we increase the stress, and thus we need small energy to accomplish the job and break the object. The third kind of characteristic of the teeth, if we look at, as you can see on the screen, the motors that move the teeth, we can see them, they are the muscles. Now the muscles, they produce the energy needed for the teeth to move and crush the food. Now if we look at how Allah the Almighty designed the muscles, we see that there are kind of two main proteins that are called actin and myosin. These are like thick and thin filaments. Now what's very interesting to note is that when the muscles contract, these actin and myosin, they go into each other. Now what happens is that they go into each other in a discrete fashion. It's like clicks, click, click. So when they go into each other, they go in like clicks. So it's a discrete kind of fashion that they go into each other. Now this discrete movement, this discrete kind of sliding of the muscles produces a signal, as you can see on the screen. It produces like pulses. So when the masticatory muscles, the muscles involved in chewing, when they contract, they produce pulses. Their energy is produced in a discrete fashion like pulses. So what will happen that the teeth, when they move, they vibrate, because what acts on them is like pulses. So these teeth will vibrate up and down, millions of vibrations per second. So what will happen is that when these vibratory teeth, when they come in contact with the food, in this small time of contact, they will subject the piece of food to millions of vibrations like small hammers, and thus this will break the bonds in the food in a kind of very easy way, because in a small time of contact, a lot of energy is being channeled to the piece of food. So this kind of, what's the engineering application of this? When we design a mechanical digger, we need to, the motors that move the head of the digger, they need to produce vibrations, so that the head of the digger is vibrating, and this will produce so much energy in the piece of food, and thus it's easier to break the object we want to crush, or the object we want to destroy. So the head of the digger need to be vibrating by, we can use like a vibrating motors to do this. And it's interesting to note that the companies that manufacture, for example, shaving blades and so forth, they are coming now after trial and error to realize that if the blade is vibrating, it's easier to cut the hair, it's easier to accomplish the task. So what Allah God Almighty teaches us in the Quran in a matter of seconds, so again, what Allah God Almighty teaches us in the Quran in a matter of seconds, people are coming to know after hundreds of years of trial and error. So we see that Allah God Almighty wants the believer to be a teacher of others and not the one on the receiving end. And the way for this to be accomplished is that by people going to the Quran and learning directly from the source, from Allah God Almighty. And to know more details about this topic, please visit my website at www.quran-miracle.com, and you can email me at zaidquran@yahoo.com. And may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon you all.